Okay, you're live, Mayor.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the City Council meeting, the regular meeting for March 9th. Before we do the roll call, can we have an announcement for our city attorney?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The procedures adopted for this meeting meet or exceed the standards set forth in the governor's order number N-25-20, allowing public meetings like this one to be held by teleconference to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. Madam Clerk, I'd ask you now to conduct the roll call, and I'll ask the mayor to recognize me afterward to confirm certain matters for the record.
Please conduct the roll. Go ahead.
Councilmember Armstrong,
Here.
Councilmember Veros,
Present.
Councilmember Zafar,
Here.
Vice Mayor Perkins,
Here.
and Mayor Hudson.
Here, the mayor recognizes city attorney.
Thank you. Based on the responses to the roll call, the record should reflect that all council members can hear the proceedings clearly. And if there are no objections, the record will further reflect that each council member believes, based on voice, facial, or other recognition, that persons representing themselves to be council members are in fact council members. And seeing no objection from the council, I will turn the meeting back over to the mayor with a reminder that all votes must be taken by roll call.
Thank you, Martin. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next on the item is announcements. Do we have any changes or additions to the agenda, Madam Clerk?
There are no changes or additions this evening.
Okay, that's always good. Also now we're on to 3.2. If you wish to speak under public comment or regarding, well, this is going to be one of these nights, regarding an agenda item, please click the raise your hand button on your computer or *9 on your telephone to request to speak when public comment is being taken on the agenda item. You will then be unmuted when it is your turn to make your comments for up to 3 minutes. After the allotted time, you will then be remuted. Okay, item 3.3 is boards, committees, and commission meetings. A complete list of upcoming meetings may be found on the city's website at www.sanramon.ca.gov. Subscription service is available at the link for automatic meeting notification. This is my favorite. Contact the city clerk with questions at 925-973-2539. That number again, 973-2539. I always got a kick out of doing that to our previous mayor. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Public comment is open. Now is the time for members of the audience are encouraged to address the city council on any non-agenda item. Members of the public who are participating via Zoom will have the opportunity to make comments to the city council live through the Zoom application. I see 2 people up already. Let me also say that under public comment, if there are of the 19 attendees and more to come, you will also have the opportunity under number 4 to speak to any item on the consent calendar, which are 3 minutes, not 3 minutes, minutes 3 times. Request for future agenda items, special presentation items under section 6. So if you wish to speak to any of the 3 items under section 6, you would do your comments now, or items that are not on the agenda. Okay, we still only have 2. Who are the 2 people on the attendees? Caller and user number 1, let's start with them. Can we let them in, please?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I would like to address the mayor and the council members that I have concerns for any committees that might have affiliation in the past or in the present with the Communist Chinese Party as active members. So I request the city that in the future for appointments on any committees that the prospect candidates must disclose if they have any active or past affiliation with the Communist Chinese Party. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next attendee is Suraj Panjal. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, Suraj Pangal is my name.
Thank you. You have
Hi.
3 minutes.
Hi. So I am Suraj Pangal. I am a 10th grader at Monte Vista High School, and I'm a 14-year San Ramon resident. So when the pandemic hit, I'm talking to you guys about the 1162 pledge. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit, it changed all of our lives, right? It had a huge effect on all of us. And I'm really interested in business. So I was looking into how businesses were affected by the pandemic. And what I really found intriguing was small businesses' vulnerability to economic downturn compared to the impact that they have on our society, right? And knowing that they would have taken a hit in the pandemic, I wanted to help, and I started the 1162 pledge with the help of Councilman Barrows, and I started researching the impact that the pandemic had on the businesses, and especially how these small businesses affect us. And there are 30.4 small businesses in the US. They create 1.5 million jobs yearly, and they outnumber corporations 1,162 to 1, which is where we derive our name from. And they represent 40% of America's payroll. So they have a huge impact on our society overall. And they've been hit hard by the pandemic. 31% of small businesses are currently non-operational due to the pandemic. And in just 9 months, 100,000 small businesses have closed down. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to uplift these small businesses. And we started the 1162 pledge, which is a pledge that San Ramon citizens will sign to say that they will shop locally and they will shop at small businesses to give them help. Because we found that the best way to support small businesses is to get people into their doors, give them more business. So we've gotten support from the San Ramon Chamber of Commerce, thanks to CEO Stuart Bambino and his team. And additionally, we've also partnered up with some local small businesses so that we could help provide examples of places that people can go and shop at and provide support to our people. So I just wanted to explain what we're doing and ask all of you guys to check out our website, 1162pledge.com. And we wanted to bring this up as an agenda item later on in another council meeting to potentially get an endorsement from the city. So more eyes will get on this and we can get more people to sign the pledge and support our local small businesses. So I'm pretty sure one of my team members, Kanishka Veros, will be talking a little bit more. He'll probably come up in a little bit. And yeah, I just wanted to get your guys's, I just want to inform you guys and let you know what we're planning on doing to help small businesses.
Thank you, Suraj. Our next speaker is Kanishka Veros. This name sounds familiar. Did I say that right?
Hello?
Yes,
Hear me?
you have the floor.
All right. Hi, my name is Kanishka Veros. I'm currently a junior at Doherty Valley High School. I've been living in San Ramon for around 15 years. So yeah, like Suraj said, I'm working with him in the 1162 pledge. So as a current member of the teen council, with working in the liaison of the Economic Development Advisory Committee, I found that one significant issue within San Ramon was the issue with small businesses. So currently I'm supporting the 1162 pledge and working with Suraj in trying to get businesses and people to endorse it. Currently, we have the endorsements of, as we said, Sridhar Veros and also the San Ramon Chamber of Commerce. So the steps that we've already taken so far are basically we've come in touch with a bunch of businesses around the city. We've walked around and we've basically kept in contact with them. So we have ideas for basically getting people to shop local, trying to entice them to shop local, such as, for example, just promoting businesses. And this pledge, when people sign it, basically it states that, they'll focus on shopping local. The name of the 1162 pledge comes from the ratio of small businesses to big corporations, which is 1,162 to 1. So basically, by having people sign this pledge, we're basically saying that they'll support our local businesses within the Tri-Valley. And as a result, the tax money that comes from these businesses will go out to, support San Ramon with the roads and anything else that's necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Kanishka. Anyone else wish to speak on any item for or the consent calendar, which is the 3 different minutes, or on item 6, which would be the proclamations, certificates? Seeing none, we will close the public comment. Next on the agenda is the consent calendar. We have one motion to move all 3 items. They are generally routine in nature. They're all minutes tonight. Does anybody wish to poll one? Comments? Any
I
changes?
can move.
We have motion Zafar,
Second.
second Perkins. Roll call vote, please, or any discussion? Seeing none, go ahead. You have the roll call, Christina.
I'm sorry, was the second Commissioner or Councilmember
Perkins.
Burrows? Oh, Perkins, thank you.
Burrows first, Perkins second.
No,
Moved by Councilmember
So-
Jafar and second by Councilmember Perkins.
Okay,
Isn't that what I said?
thank you.
no.
Really? What did
No.
I say? Are we gonna have that kind of night? I
So I
think
have
it was-
I have a motion by Councilmember Zafar, a second by Vice Mayor Perkins, and roll call vote. Councilmember Armstrong,
Aye.
Councilmember Burrows,
Yes.
Councilmember Zafar,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Perkins,
Yes.
and Mayor Hudson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is special presentations. That was a 5-0 vote. Our first presentation of the night will be the San Ramon Valley Fire Protection District COVID-19 vaccine distribution update. And who do we have is, I see Denise is in charge of everything. So Denise, are you going to be the first speaker? No, I can't do that. Paige, I have to tell you, I am getting, this is killing me, but I am getting more and more people calling me for kudos for the job that you guys are doing. And I don't usually get comments about the job people are doing. They, every one of them is just very thankful for what you've been doing. So who is going to be doing our staff report? Christina, do we have it? Is it Denise?
I will.
Oh,
Mayor
now,
Hudson.
yeah, he'll jump on it.
Yeah,
now.
hey, after that
Okay, Paige
compliment,
Starr, you have the floor.
if we could just freeze this, I can get a copy or a recording of this part alone. So I'll be
Now,
happy.
that one went lines, different colored lines.
Well, listen, Mayor Hudson, good to see you. Council members, awesome to see you. And to Council Member Armstrong and Council Member Veros, on behalf of the Fire District, congratulations. Great to be able to present in front of you as new council members. And as always, it's an honor for the Fire District to present what's going on in the district. And specifically when we have, I think, very serious times, as was spoken of earlier, a pandemic that has really, I think, crippled us for a year, and we're finally seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. We wanted to come with some good news. We wanted to come and do a presentation as to all of our work and what we've been doing. So I'm really excited to have this PowerPoint presentation and also take questions from the council as we move forward. I'll introduce, as you mentioned before, the person in charge, Denise Pangilinan, our communications director for the San Ramon Valley 911 Dispatch Center, which includes the San Ramon Police Department. And also on here is Laura Began, who is our RN on staff, EMS coordinator, as well as Chief Jonas Aguiar, who will be doing some of the presentation, and I will be jumping in at different times. So I'm just going to say I'm very proud of the work that we've done, and all the credit in the world goes to our EMS staff, our firefighters, and the tenacious effort that they put forward in trying to be a part of the solution. From the moment this pandemic started, we were very aggressive in how we responded to calls, how we dealt with testing of our own internal folks, and how we dealt with our public, and making sure they were educated through this whole process. Well, we felt it was very important that we didn't create too much fear, because there's a lot of fear going around, but really we were there to make sure that people understood that we were there to respond to their darkest days and some of their scariest times, and we were ready for it. So that went well. And as we move forward, we love to fight. We're firefighters. And so now we can fight this disease with a vaccine. That's our attitude. And Chief Aguiar has, I've stolen that from him. He brought that up. It really has invigorated our folks to be a part of the solution. So what we did was, early on, we decided to be a part of that, and we offered up the ability and capability to provide vaccines to our community. And when I say our community, I need to make a very distinct point. 70% roughly of the vaccines we've given are outside of the San Ramon Valley. This is a team effort by County Health and several partners. So as we go through this presentation, you'll hear some of those specific areas that we've had to deal with and how it's been rolled out. But in doing so, I think we've been able to also accomplish a lot for the city of San Ramon and get them on the way back to being to some form of normalcy. So with that, I will make some comments as we move forward, but I would turn it over to Laura Began to start the presentation. Laura?
Thank you, Chief Meyer. Good evening, Mayor Hudson, Vice Mayor Perkins, and City Council members. Thank you for having us. We're certainly excited to be here and share our COVID-19 response vaccine clinic initiative with you. There we go. A brief overview of our presentation. We'll be reviewing Contra Costa County statistics, our own San Ramon Valley Fire Vaccine Initiative, and finally, our fire district next steps. Just prior to the holidays, our county began to see a sharp rise in COVID-19 cases, thus forcing us into the purple or highest risk level from orange, completely skipping the red tier. Due to this sharp rise in cases, on December 6th, the state and countywide stay-at-home order was implemented. In mid-December, we received the long-awaited news that we had 2 vaccines, Pfizer and Moderna, that were given emergency use authorization by the FDA, and most recently, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Following nearly 2 months of vaccinations to our Tier 1A category of healthcare professionals, first responders, and followed by elderly ages 75 and older, on February 1st, we began to see a downward trend in our COVID cases. Potential other causes for this downward trend may also be attributed to the end of the holiday season, which promoted and a noticeable compliance with wearing masks and social distancing. As we have seen over the past few days, our surrounding counties have moved into the red tier, and it is our hope, and according to Dr. Savelli, our public health officer, that Contra Costa County may move into the red tier by next week. This next slide highlights the COVID-19 cases and vaccinations within our fire district. I'll go into detail for San Ramon on the next slide, but I would like to draw your attention to the column cases last 14 days. Please note the green total of 96, indicating the drop in cases in the last 14 days. To put this into perspective, we gave a presentation to our fire board at the end of January, just 6 weeks ago, where we reported 427 cases total and 239 for San Ramon. So that's a drop of 188 or 44% of reported cases in the last 14 days. A major, major improvement. So moving on to our San Ramon, we have a total positive case count as of today of 1,884 to date, or approximately 2.3% of San Ramon population. And this is falling well below the county positivity rate. San Ramon has done very well in sustaining and preventing the transmission of COVID. And also to note is the less than 0.25% death rate, or a total of 16 deaths, to include 10 residential care facilities or nursing retirement homes and 6 residential deaths. We're excited to see that San Ramon has vaccinated 20% of the population to include all residential care facilities with first dose administrations, and this number will only continue to rise as our downward trend continues. Contra Costa County has set a goal of vaccinating 1 million residents by July. A total of 369,391 total doses have been administered, with nearly 122,000, or approximately 13.1%, receiving both first and second doses of either the Pfizer or Moderna vaccine. We're currently averaging approximately 6,500 doses daily. However, with the addition of Johnson & Johnson vaccine, we only expect that number to increase within Contra Costa County. And we are happy to report that Contra Costa County is currently the top performing large county in the state per our health services.
And then just if you could go back real quick, I just wanted to point something out. I think it's important. Good news is always great to hear. Hopefully you guys feel like that, especially in this day and age. But to give you some perspective, we expect, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Laura, somewhere around 70% of those folks over the age of 16, about 70% of our community, Contra Costa County, is going to take the vaccine. So keep in mind that drops that number down to about 800,000. If you also add in the fact that I want to say that 200,000 of the folks that live in the county are under the age of 16, you can start doing the math, and you can see that to get to 1 million by July, we're actually probably going to get everybody that wants a vaccine, at least some form of a first shot, probably closer to 2 months from now, just because of the numbers. Because if you have 1 million vaccinations done and you only need 700,000, you can do the math and see that we're well ahead of schedule. So just think about that as you go through it, because these are goals, but they don't get put in perspective all the time. If that makes sense to everybody.
Thank you, Chief. So this next slide gives us a glance at the vaccine distribution phases for Contra Costa County, beginning in December with Tier 1A to include the healthcare workers, residents of long-term care facilities, first responders, including firefighters. And then January saw the vaccine initiative expand to those 75 years and older and law enforcement, followed by late January welcoming 65 years and older. Most recently, over the past week, we've expanded to agriculture and food or grocery workers, and we're extremely excited to announce that our educators and teachers have finally made the list. At this time, I'd like to hand over to Chief Aguiar to discuss our San Ramon Valley Fire Vaccine Initiative.
Hello, Mayor Hudson, City Council members. Thank you for having us here. As you all know, the plan for rolling out the vaccines was somewhat complicated, and it became clear early on that there are going to be issues with distribution of the vaccine to the elderly and those in lower socioeconomic areas of the county. Now, we are acutely aware of this issue because we are an EMS transporting agency. We understand very clearly how your age and/or economic status plays a role in your access to healthcare. Now, it's for these reasons that our chief and board of directors were actively requesting the ability to vaccinate countywide. We knew we had the personnel and equipment to send mobile clinics anywhere the county needed our help, and we expressed our desire to do so on numerous occasions. Now, while we were lobbying for the ability to vaccinate countywide, Contra Costa County created the Ethical and Equitable Allocations Committee. This committee had 16 members comprised of county stakeholders, and they were tasked with ensuring a fair, transparent, and evidence-based approach to vaccine access during the early stages of availability, which we're still in right now. Now, the county addressed the distribution issues through the following ways: mobile vaccine clinics like ours that I'll discuss a little bit more in depth later, outreach to community-based organizations, pharmacy partnerships, and also establishing a support call center for scheduling vaccines. Now, it's very important to understand that we as a vaccine distributor are vaccinating citizens based on the priorities set by the county committee, the California Department of Public Health, and the CDC. We do not decide who receives the vaccine. We administer the doses to whomever is eligible as set forth by county guidelines. And Chief, I don't know if there's anything you'd like to add to this slide.
I think it was well said. I just would emphasize that as we went through the vaccine process, we were fortunate we wanted to shrink the problem for the county. County Health is, got to vaccinate, like they say, they want to vaccinate 1 million people. Well, who's going to do the vaccinations? We were very acutely aware that sounds great on paper, right? And I think we've all kind of seen what's happened throughout the country. It's not easy to do. So we felt like being a fire district strategically placed throughout our area of San Ramon Valley, we would be effective, not only for our own community, but also for the outside community to make sure our county gets back to normal. So for us, making sure the entire county gets up to par helps everybody. So I just add that, but you can go ahead and continue.
Next slide, please, Laura. So the district administers vaccines in 2 different ways. The first way is what you're all familiar with, which is our drive-through clinic at 2641 Camino Ramon. And the second way is through our mobile response team clinics that go throughout the county. And I'm going to brief you on both of those right now. Now, to date, we've conducted 12 drive-through clinics and 8 mobile clinics, vaccinating over 9,700 county residents or employees. And to break those numbers down even more, approximately 2/3 of our vaccines are going to out-of-district residents. Again, we don't decide who can sign up or register. We're given a total dose allotment for any given clinic, and County Health handles all the registrations for that clinic. And as you can tell, we're doing our part to ensure the county as a whole overcomes COVID faster. It's also worth noting, but not shown on this slide, that not only do we host our own clinics, but we have also sent our personnel to drive through clinics countywide. San Ramon Valley Fire has represented in some capacity as overhead, as a screener, or a vaccinator at every fire-based clinic since we started doing this in December. To date, we have conducted 20 drive-through and mobile clinics for our district residents and for residents countywide. I'd also like to emphasize that at the same time we are vaccinating with our mobile and drive-through clinics, we have also deployed 6 paramedics across the state to fight COVID in overcrowded hospitals in places like Inglewood, Bakersfield, and Stockton. Next slide, please, Laura. This is a breakdown of the different clinics that we've done and the amount that we vaccinated at those clinics. And we just show you this to kind of highlight the growth and progression that we've made as a fire district in conducting these clinics. As you can tell, the first one we did on December 30th was only for fire and EMS and frontline healthcare workers, and we did a modest 261 vaccines. By our third clinic on January 14th, we felt pretty good that we had our system down. We improved our processes, our layout, and our overall operations, and increased our vaccines by over 300 to 583 for law enforcement officers in Contra Costa County. Now, after finally getting tired of hearing from us, the county agreed to give us more doses for our clinics. We're able to get approval to start conducting clinics of 800 and up. And on February 25th, we conducted our largest to date at 1,682 vaccines. Now, the county understood that we were capable, but also explained to us that they were having allocation issues. They couldn't give us what they didn't have, and I'll get more into this a little bit later. Next slide, please.
Real quick, also on that, I think it's important to note, a lot of credit goes to, there's so many folks that have worked so hard, and I know that Chief Egler is going to get into it, but the one thing I just want to mention, if you go back to the previous slide, early on, I mean, we're firefighters. We deal with big time stuff, big wildland fires. I mean, this I don't want to say it's easy for us, but we're pretty good at dealing with these issues. And we were begging for vaccines because we knew we could do 1,000, 1,500, 2,000. And our folks don't like standing around. So a lot of credit goes to this group because slowly we gain the confidence of the county. I mean, you got to remember the county, we don't work really closely with county health all the time. So for them, I know that they're worried about what we can and can't accomplish. By the end, I think, or by very early on, they realized how good we were at getting this out and efficiently and effectively. And at 1,682, I want to say they had capacity to do more. They don't want to sit around. They want people to run through this process as quickly as possible. So I just want to emphasize that we want to have bigger clinics. It makes more sense for us. And as Chief Aguirre said, and I'm gonna compliment your firefighters in this district. These folks, where other departments were skeptical, maybe even kind of cautious about throwing their hat, in the ring to start doing this, our folks had no problems. I mean, they were first in line, and I really want to say, through peer pressure, we got some people moving in the right direction. The last thing I'll say, it's very important, and I think this is important to the community because I'm hearing this all the time, and I don't blame folks. We want to get our kids back to school. So when these teachers are going to get vaccinated, how fast can we do it? One of the things we did with PD, the police department, and specifically with Craig Stevens and working very, very closely with them, is we said, we will take on all police officers in the county. We told them right up off we said, send them to us. And we worked with the sheriff, we worked with Craig Stevens, San Ramon PD, and we were able to quickly get our police officers who really have a front-facing view of the public on a regular basis vaccinated quickly, and really more quickly than the rest of the counties around the San Francisco Bay Area. And we're trying, just so the folks out there that are watching this, we are trying to push to be the vaccinator for all the teachers in the county too. Even if we're one part of it, we'll take the whole thing on. If they want to send it to us 4 days a week, we'll knock them out in a week. So we continue to kind of hustle and offer that up. And that has shrunk the problem, I think, for the county. So we hope they take us up on it. And again, if vaccines are available, right? That's the key.
So with the good of the vaccine clinics, there's also some challenges. And I just want to take a minute to talk about some of the challenges of the drive-through clinics. The first one is the standby list. Now, the county has a 4-step process for distributing these extra doses to ensure no vaccine gets wasted. And it's a pretty lengthy process, and one that I dedicate an entire slide to, which I'll cover next. Another issue that we had to take into account was internal and external staffing. These issues showed up very quickly, and in order to vaccinate large numbers of people, you need large numbers of volunteers and paid personnel. Internally, we paused our fire academy and reassigned 10 recruits to the EMS division to help with these clinics. We moved division heads and focused district personnel on vaccination clinics. Externally, we focused on building relationships and collaborated with organizations throughout the county. Again, we're the organizers of the clinics, but this is a community-based effort. We've had employees and residents from the city of San Ramon, like Stephen and Becky and Edwin, and just to name a few, Alamo, the town of Danville, volunteer organizations like CERT, Search and Rescue, Comm Reserves, Firefighter Reserves, and other fire agencies throughout the county. At our last drive-through clinic, we had 60 volunteers helping to staff the clinic. Now, this high level of participation really speaks to what makes this community amazing. It really does. Another challenge that we had was, how do we make this sustainable for the long term? We knew we could potentially be vaccinating until July. And in order to accommodate that plan, we had to hire part-time employees, part-time vaccinators. And again, we moved personnel to different divisions to really shore up our goal of leading the county from the fire perspective and giving these vaccines at the drive-through and mobile clinics. And unfortunately, the one thing that we can't fix is the allocation of vaccines. But we're optimistic that with Johnson & Johnson receiving that emergency use authorization, it'll help with this issue. And just yesterday, the county received their first shipment of Johnson & Johnson of 4,000 doses. So hopefully that continues to increase moving forward. So when we get to the general population, we have a large quantity of vaccines to be able to distribute. Next slide, please. So our standby roster, as I spoke to earlier, is something that has changed from our first clinic to where we are now. The county put forth guidance on how to administer any leftover vaccines, but we really didn't know what the process would be like. Now, currently our roster gets added to daily. And if you or someone you know wants to join the roster, I'll walk you through the steps real quick. Now, as you can see from the presentation slide, you simply need to go to our website, www.firedepartment.org, and click on the bright red banner at the top or call the phone number. Submit your information, and based on your age and tier requirements, you'll be placed on a list. And in that list, you're placed based off your priority and your risk factors. And we review our list as best we can. We vet and evaluate the list using our medical director, Dr. Johnson, which we'll speak about a little bit later. And again, our EMS RN, Laura Began, who spoke previously. Our current list now has over 1,500 people on it. However, it typically takes between 300 to 400 phone calls to get enough residents to show up to receive the leftover doses. It's even gotten so time consuming that we pre-call those on the list a day ahead of time. We've now created a standby list. And Chief, I'm not sure if there's anything you want to add about standby list.
Yeah, yes, I would. I know there's a lot of folks, as you look at what's happened throughout the country, it's tough to get people to respond and to come in from a standby perspective. I just want to put in perspective, there is, these folks are doing about 300 calls to fill standby. So you can imagine if it's 4 o'clock and you got to make 300 calls to try to get the people that are on that list in, it's not easy. And the reason you have to make 300 calls is because, quite frankly, people get nervous. They get on the list, and then all of a sudden when it comes due, they go, gosh, I don't want to. We're seeing less of that as we move forward, but that's a very real problem. The other problem is there's a disconnect sometimes. They think, okay, well, can I come tomorrow? I'm just sitting down to dinner. And we're going, no, you can't, right? So these are just some issues that you take it for granted. But I think most importantly, I think the thing for us is we want to get it right. We want to get those that are at the highest risk vaccinated. It's not easy to get done. And the other thing is we went through the standby list or standby, we also learned things in the first 2 clinics where you're supposed to have 10 doses in a vial. suddenly you have 11 doses. So you don't even know that you're going to have 50 extra vaccines. And so you're kind of bouncing all over the place. We were happy to be a part of it because now we're really good at this. But I just want to put it in perspective for folks that get on that list. If we call, you have to just come down. We can't know if we love to talk to you for 10 minutes about what's going on in your life, but we got a lot of phone calls to make. I joke because poor Chief Aguirre sits on the phone and doesn't want to hang up on people, wants to be polite, but we got to keep it moving. So just keep that in mind. If you end up on that standby list, answer the phone, and you need to be able to get down there in short order.
Chief, I'm going to break my own rules. I wait till the end of the presentation before you ask a question. But I have to tell you that it's a shame we can't put out we need help to airline personnel or these people at a restaurant because I had my vaccination in Pleasant Hill, and I know what you're talking about where people walk up. And if they've got a standby number, or if they've got one of those little clickers or something, which everybody has, they're called telephones or whatever they're called, cell phones now. By the end of this month, you guys are going to be experts on this. You're going to have more people showing up. I wouldn't be shy about telling people, hey, if you think you want to be on standby, we will know by 2:40, whether or not, because that's what when I came in and people were telling them, we're going to have some, it looks like, and just say, here's some seats 6 feet apart, sit there and wait. I know I'd wait if I wasn't on that list and had to take a flight where I was going somewhere that, whoa, I got to be vaccinated. But it sounds like people have really caught on fast on what it's going to take to make this thing work. I think you've missed the mark. I think you guys are virtually done where it's a downhill and you're fighting to get people in by Memorial Day. I think the first vaccinations are going to be in by Memorial Day because what I'm seeing is a lot of efficiency.
Yes. And you make good points. And I would just add, there is that factor of, like you said, having people ready to come in. There's also the factor, and we've worked very well with the county, so I don't want to, this isn't to put the county down in any way, shape, or form, but it is difficult when we're the end user, right? We're the vaccinator, and we have to rely on the county to communicate those numbers. I mean, there's a lot of, it's small bureaucracy, but any bureaucracy gets in the way of efficiency. So that's been something that we've had to deal with. I would just say, the other part that I really want to emphasize that Chief Aguirre said, just remember that standby phone tree, that standby list is vetted by our RN and our medical director. I want to emphasize that again, because I know a lot of folks are worried about how do you do that and make sure you get the right people in. So we do require folks to come in with their driver's license and everything to prove not only who they are, but where they are in the risk category. So a lot of credit goes to us. It's not perfect, but I think they do a great job of vetting it to the best of their ability.
Well, who's next?
Go ahead, Chief.
Next slide, please. There we go. So the next thing I'd like to discuss is our mobile response teams. Now, as we talked about earlier, equitable distribution is an issue that we take very seriously. It's the direction of the board and the chief to make mobile clinics our top priority. Collaboratively with County Health, we are vaccinating senior housing facilities throughout the county. Our first clinic was on January 28th, and we've done 8 since then. Our goal is 2 per week, but that is dependent upon how many County Health can schedule for us. Also, keep in mind, we go where County Health needs us to go. We don't determine the location for these clinics. They let us know that they've set up a clinic for us. They give us the address, and then we show up with everything we need to make that clinic happen. Now, as you can see, we've conducted mobile clinics starting in our district, in Alamo and Danville, and then going out of district into Antioch, Richmond, El Cerrito, and Hercules. We completed 1 more clinic in Antioch today, and virtually all of these clinics inside and outside of the district are attended by our medical director, Dr. Malcolm Johnson. Next slide, please.
Real quick on that, just so you guys know as a council, our residential care facilities throughout our district, the fortunate thing, the benefit of us doing the mobiles, it made sense for them to have us make sure our district, the San Ramon Valley, was completely vaccinated before they sent us out to these other communities. So there are those benefits for our community that we're happy to assist in. So right now, all of your residential care facilities are vaccinated and with the first vaccine, if not both. Just wanted to make that clear.
Again, with the drive-through clinics, we experienced some challenges, and with the mobile clinics, there were also some challenges. The first and foremost was a lack of trust with the COVID vaccine. Now, some communities wanted to get it and some didn't, and we had to solve the trust issue, and our ability to do that really speaks to why this district stands out, and that's our ability to bring in our own medical director, Dr. Johnson. He is present at these clinics to help us educate those who are hesitant and distrusting of the vaccine. And while at the clinics, he's able to have one-on-one sessions, educate those who are hesitant, and eventually get them vaccinated. Having access to our own medical director has really helped to make this process with our mobile and drive-through clinics the success that it is. Another challenge that we regularly experience is these are unfamiliar locations to us. We have no firsthand knowledge of the locations we're going to, and we have to adjust on the fly upon arrival. Each site is unique, but regardless of where we go, we come prepared with everything we need, from Band-Aids and needles to an ambulance. We're ready for any situation that might arise when we go to these locations. And the next challenge that they present is the registration of patients. It's an issue for the same reasons that we talked about previously. A lot of the elderly and poorer communities don't have access to computers. They don't have smartphones. They don't even have email addresses sometimes. And if they do have access, they aren't able to utilize them effectively enough to register. Now, there are communication barriers, and English is often a second language. There's also the issue with durable power of attorney and decision-making for medical treatment. Again, working diligently with County Health and the Housing Authority, we're able to overcome this issue. Next slide, please. So where do we go from here? Well, we're going to continue to seek out opportunities to partner with the community to provide vaccine at our San Ramon location. Like Chief previously mentioned, we're working with the county in an attempt to host clinics for our teachers countywide, similar to what we did with fire, EMS, and law enforcement. We're also working with County Health to get our March dates solidified. As of now, we do not have any additional drive-through clinics scheduled. But the good news is that over 90% of our 75 and up and over 66% of our 65 and up have been given at least one dose. Issues with vaccine allocations are still very real. The county is getting less doses over the next few weeks. Again, the storms that we had earlier, shipping delays, and larger allocations to Kaiser have limited the amount of our first dose vaccine. But overall, county allocation has decreased from a high of 8,000 daily doses that they were administering down to 6,500 daily doses. Another thing that we're making sure that we stay on top of is our CDC recommendations. Those change frequently, as you all know. The CDC puts out different recommendations, sometimes what it seems like multiple times a day, or at least daily, and working collaboratively again with Dr. Johnson and Laura to make sure that we have a good plan in place to handle these COVID-related medical questions or issues. We continue to seek out opportunities to bring the vaccine to the areas in county that may have issues accessing it. Again, this is especially where Johnson & Johnson comes into play because it's much easier to schedule one dose than two. And we're always looking for ways to continue to improve our processes. Chief, this is all I have at this time. Is there anything you'd like to add?
The only thing I'd close with before we take questions, comments, number one is thank you for letting us tell you what's going on and what we're doing in the community. I know you've probably seen lines over there across from City Center or Iron Horse Trail and Iron Horse Middle School, I'm sorry, and thought, what's going on. So we try to let you know as much as we can, but presentations always help get the word out to the community. So thank you for allowing us to do this. I just say this, being in this business for quite some time and understanding the impact that you have on calls and how grateful people are, I think we underestimated the emotion of the moment for some folks, grandparents, otherwise people that want to get back to normal. And it's really been gratifying. This has been a labor of love for us. We're having a great time doing it. And it's been really embraced, again, by our fire board to give us the opportunity to do this. And it's great when you see somebody that's been cooped up for that long and they have a tear in their eye because they think they are closer to seeing their grandkids, their sons, their daughters, their family members, their friends. So you've got a group of firefighters that are very grateful to be able to be a part of that. So with that, we'll take questions, and thank you for allowing us to be here today.
Why don't we start with you, Sabina? Do you have any comments or questions you'd like to make? Sridhar, you're
I
up.
just want to thank you. Right. I just want to thank you. I know the community is very grateful for everything that you guys are doing. I particularly like the what you shared about people who might be able to get these vaccines that are leftovers, because I know that's become a very hot topic amongst those that are under 65 and over 16, and how do they get those? So I'm happy to share that, San Ramon Fire Department is doing the same thing. And I also want to thank some of our city staff that helped out with the clinics. Really appreciate that as well. So, and really appreciate the presentation. I think it was really important for the community to know and understand what is going on and how really the fire department has been helping the rollout of these vaccines. And I would just say, from the residents of San Ramon, I'm truly grateful for everything you guys are doing and appreciate it.
Thank you, Sabina. Okay, Sridhar, and then Mark, then Scott.
Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing that valuable information. Your benchmark of 1,682 in one day. Wow, that's amazing. With that number, I'm very confident if you get right deliverables of vaccine, we should be able to get your goal, or you should be able to get your goal of 1 million. I'm really looking forward for that. So I have one quick question. If there is any volunteer who is who is ready to help in vaccination, is there a way they can reach out to you?
Yes, I'll let Chief Aguiar speak to that, but I would just say the volunteer right now, we've got so many folks stepping up, and you as a city council, and I know it's already been said by Chief Aguiar, but I'm going to say it a second time. You have a great city staff. I mean, your folks have stepped up, and the reason we are so smooth when we're out there and people can't believe how fast everything goes is all the volunteers throughout the county, but specifically the city of San Ramon have really stepped up, and Joe Gorton amazingly stepped up himself to give me that opportunity to utilize his staff, which, that's, all the credit in the world goes to Joe.
This had better be good.
But if you reach out to us through email and firedepartment.org, we have a informational, you can put an email out, and it's very important for us to know, are you volunteering just as a citizen? Do you have any background that we can look into, i.e. nursing background, maybe retired nurse? Because when we get people that have done medical work, it helps us out to also slot them. Anything to add on that, Chief Aguiar?
Negative, Chief, you covered it.
Yeah. So So I'm asking especially for like pharmacists or nurses that they can help. Like my wife is pharmacist. She do vaccinations at a retail pharmacy.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, we'd love to have. Yeah.
So that's great. And once again, thank you. You are always a valuable stakeholder of our community, whether it is a fire or whether it is accident or right now with the COVID-19. So thanks a lot.
Councilmember Armstrong.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you also. It's very impressive, the work that you've done with the mobile response teams, the drive-up clinics. It's just commendable work. One of the things I didn't hear you talk about was there was really no comment on the impact on your normal day-to-day mission of being firefighters.
Great point. Great question. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Can you, you've got people going across the state. You've had to hire some additional staff. You're providing these different mobile stations, mobile clinics and things. Can you just talk a little bit to your ability to sustain your operations? I know that was a big question I used to get when I did emergency management stuff. When we had a really big thing going on or a special change in a mission, it was always, are you still able to do the regular mission, or do you have enough funding?
Yeah, that's a great point. And yes, we being in the wildland areas that we end up responding to, we're always ready to have backups to the backup. So it had no impact to our day-to-day operations. So these were all over and above. So they were either very rarely, but sometimes overtime. But as Chief Aguirre had mentioned, we actually had to stop our academy. When the surge happened, we had a fire academy start, and we didn't want to lay those folks off. So we leveraged these new recruits, paramedics, got them trained, and we have reserve firefighters, which we always want our community to know about. These folks, whether they want to become a firefighter or otherwise, we got them trained, as well as our district aides, and we just brought everybody to the table in those from that perspective and got them trained so that they could go out there and work. So the real impact wasn't at the station level; it was overhead. And frankly, I mean, this is going to sound, I want it to sound the right way, but everybody was off work for a year. So this, salty fire chief was ready to put people back to work. It's time to get back to work. So the other part is we got a lot of folks that were remote, and it was time to not be remote, put our masks on and step up to the challenge. So we leveraged our remote working force. And I think all that helped to put things together. That being said, a lot of credit goes to the fire board that gave us the option to spend a little bit of money when we needed to make sure that we ran these things right. And so I really am grateful to our fire board for stepping up as well.
Well, thanks again. Great job, great work, and just kudos to your whole team in the district.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Perkins?
Yeah, the fire district just does everything just so well. And I really appreciate the initiative that you guys showed. When Cocoa Fire and others were kind of holding back, you guys stepped up. And I just think that's fantastic. Everybody around here just knows what a great job that San Ramon Valley Fire does in everything they do, and they step up, and I can't be happier. Thank you very much for what you've been doing.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I think pretty much everything's been said. I'd be very interested to see if the Johnson supply that you're talking about, the one shot, comes through by the end of the week. I mean, this is mid-March. Just in the first 15 days, how much of a difference we can see, and that you don't have to schedule these people to come back, 30 days from now. And all of a sudden you have enough supply, and April could be an extremely efficient month to get this thing over with. Good point is, I think the statement is made, you have to do 1 million of them. I don't think you're going to have to do 1 million of them. And I don't know, we're not going to count, I hope we're not counting what Kaiser's doing. They've got their own, but for the volunteer job that's out there, people are just coming in, they're staying in the line, they're staying on their time, and it's being recorded correctly, and it's making a difference. And I think a lot of people are going to see, as you start to go to another red tier, if we get there by the end of the month, they're going to want to start traveling. And when you want to go out of state or something like this, it's going to start making a difference. So I think the fact that you've moved on this so quickly is going to make a difference in people's lives, and they're going to be very thankful. We might even throw up, no, I'll be kind. I'll leave that. I
know you were going to say something.
I'll leave that one alone. But anyway, any last words, Chief?
Yeah, Mayor, we want to get out of this business as soon as we can. So the more we give, the quicker we're out of it, right? So you hit the nail on the head. We're hoping that we're done with this sooner than later. So thank you for allowing us to be here. I just throw this out. One last thing. I know I hate doing this, adding something to it, but
here it goes.
We should have a construction company ready to go in April to start work by the end of April, beginning of May. Y'all are going to have shovels in your hands. So start doing those curls and triceps, because you're going to have to dig some dirt for me, at least for a minute, at least for a picture. So thank you for having us. It's always a pleasure seeing you all, and best to all of you.
Give me a better helmet than they did at Sunset. Okay, thanks again, Chief. All right. 6.1, if there's no further comments, I have an attendee, but we did the comments on item 4, and we won't be doing a second one. So the next item that we will be looking at is item 6.2. Can we let Larry Fong in? We have a proclamation for that was just an update on 6.1 for the Red Cross, and Larry is External Relations Liaison, also a San Ramon resident. So Larry, if you'll come on in, I've got a proclamation I want to read for you. And I believe the city clerk is going to put it up on the screen also. And I'll wait till I make sure Larry's in here.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Larry.
Okay. I don't know, my camera's working. It's kind of wonkers on me today.
You've got from the eyes up. There you go. Okay, Larry.
Hey, there I am. Yes.
Okay, we have a proclamation. Go ahead. You have a few words first.
Yeah, so I'm Larry Fawn with External Relations for American Red Cross here in Contra Costa. And it's a pleasure to be here. Can I take a minute to congratulate and thank Chief Meyer about the job he's done on the vaccines?
Yes, you may.
Okay, he's done a great job. I got my shot on January 14th. I'm also with Contra Costa Search and Rescue, so a first responder. And it was one of those deals where the sheriff's office says, if you can get down there to the garage or to Iron Horse Middle School where they were doing it, in 5 minutes, you can get your shot. And I was the last one to get the shot there. And I got my second shot in February at the garage, and that operation is so smooth. You couldn't believe it.
I hear that repeatedly, Larry. I mean, you must be hearing it from the same thing from neighbors. Wow, that was efficient. Gee, that was good. See, he's gone now. We can give him these guys.
Yep. Yeah, and on top of that, he's still doing his other jobs, which is putting out fires, because I just read this morning there was a fire on Toltec Circle in San Ramon, and the fire department put out the fire, and they saved a dog.
Okay, that's part of it too. Anyway, Christina, do I understand you're going to be putting the proclamation up? I will go, and you won't need me. So let me read this for you, if I may, Larry. This is a proclamation of the City Council of the City of San Ramon declaring March 2021 as American Red Cross Month. Whereas March is American Red Cross Month, a special time to honor the kindness of our volunteers and neighbors who aid families in need every day in San Ramon, California, and across the United States and around the world. Their dedication touches millions of lives each year as they carry out the organization's 140-year mission of preventing and alleviating suffering. And whereas, despite the difficult challenges presented by the COVID-19 pandemic, people have stepped up to help others in need, whether it was responding to this year's record-breaking wildfires and hurricanes across the country, rolling up their sleeves to give blood when our country faced a severe blood shortage, or supporting local partners to address urgent COVID-19 needs in our communities. And whereas last year in Contra Costa County, local families affected by 115 home fires relied on American Red Cross volunteers for comfort and hope, providing emotional support, addressing immediate needs, and helping families recover with emergency financial assistance or community resources. Contra Costa County residents donated 17,350 units of life-saving blood. 3,459 local community members took classes to learn skills that save lives. 719 military members and their families received support and services, and humanitarian aid was provided internationally. And whereas during last year's COVID-19 pandemic, American Red Cross worked tirelessly besides its government, public health, and community partners to coordinate training efforts and shelter exercise to plan for response during high fire danger and a pandemic, while safeguarding the health and well-being of our volunteers, partners, and the people we serve. And whereas, when large disasters like the lightning complex fire started in Contra Costa County, the American Red Cross and local partners were prepared to respond by opening temporary evacuation sites and non-congregate shelters to provide lodging, food, and service until our evacuated residents could return home. As these devastating wildfires broke out around Northern California, Contra Costa Red Cross volunteers deployed virtually and in person to help neighbors in our other counties and to other disasters around the country. And whereas this life-saving work is vital to strengthening our community's resilience, nearly 200 years since the birth of the American Red Cross founder, Clara Barton, we dedicate this month of March to all those who continue to advance her noble legacy. And we ask others to join in their commitment to care for people in need. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of San Ramon does hereby proclaim March 2021 as American Red Cross Month. We encourage all Americans to reach out and support its humanitarian mission. Thank you, Larry. And I just want to add that, I got my video thing here, that I don't think people realize how big these fires are that we've been hit with over the last several years. Last year alone was 14.2 million acres. And that isn't just the fire, it's that particulate matter and the lung problems that we had and all the things that you've done. I mean, between the fire department and the American Red Cross, we just about covered all the good deeds for the year. So if there are any last words or comments that you'd like to make on the proclamation, please take the floor.
Well, it's been a challenging year working through the COVID environment, and still the work has to go on. So I do thank the City of San Ramon and the City Council for supporting the Red Cross, and life goes on.
Yep. Hell, life goes on because you guys are there to help. Councilmember Armstrong, you have some comments.
Larry, just thank you for all that you do and all that the American Red Cross does. I think the proclamation really covered it all, but we've seen what the Red Cross does for our wildland fires, local fires, like you mentioned just a moment ago, operating blood centers, the support to our veterans, even things like helping to install smoke detectors in homes and things like that. There's just so much that the Red Cross is involved in. You're fantastic partners in the emergency management community, and really want to thank you and the Red Cross for all that you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Perkins?
Yeah, I wanted to thank you. And, a lot of people don't realize that the Red Cross also steps up with contingency help overseas. I was deployed to Desert Storm back in '91, and the Red Cross was there to provide some support activities for the soldiers and others on the ground in Desert Storm. And I want to thank you guys for doing that work as well. We don't see that when we're here home, but Red Cross can be in a lot of places doing a lot of things for a lot of people. Thank you for that, Larry.
You're welcome.
And thank you. And again, Larry, thank you very much for coming out this night and representing the American Red Cross for us. And just keep up the good work. And we hope to see you again next year when we do another March for American Red Cross. But thanks again. Okay, thanks. We will move on to item 6.3. That's the American Public Works Association 2021 Public Works Project Award for a transportation project less than $5 million. And that's the Bollinger Canyon Road Continuous Green Project. I don't have anything on this. Is there a staff report or anyone comment on this? I don't see. There's Maria.
City Engineer Brian Bornstein will be presenting the item.
Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor Hudson, City Council. Tonight I'll be going over the award here. Christina's going to put a few slides up. I must say it's a tough act to follow with the fire district, their COVID response outstanding, and the American Red Cross, but I'll give it a shot. Anyway, we're going to dive in. We're excited that we received an award at the APWA, American Public Works Association, recently for the Bollinger Canyon Road Continuous Green Project, which is part of the larger Bollinger Canyon Road project. Recently at the February 25th awards banquet, we are awarded this honor. Although it was virtual, there was no banquet, so I should preface that. Christine, if you can roll to the next slide, please. So in the bigger picture, the Bollinger Canyon Road widening project we've been working on for years. This is the widening from El Costa Boulevard to the freeway, in which we widened and added additional travel lanes each way. We added turn lanes, extended turn lanes, and a lot of operational and capacity improvements for build out. We partnered with Sunset Development in building the city center and the timing to get this work all done before the city center opened in November of 2018. Unfortunately, there is one segment that lagged behind, if you will. You can roll to the next slide, which is really where the award sits, is the Bollinger Canyon Road Continuous Green Project. This last phase of the widening required a Caltrans encroachment permit. It entails work within the Caltrans right of way and transitioning to the freeway. So we had to work with them for a permit, and we had to work many years to coordinate many trips to the district offices to coordinate and get buy-off on this layout, if you will. We found through working together in our consultant team that there's another project with similar layout and constraints in Southern California, in Irvine, that we mirrored and really helped us to lobby and sell this project to the state. We actually even had more higher level stakeholders involved. Joe actually went to one of the meetings a few years back just to really lobby to get this off the ground. So the backstory is it took a long time, took over 10 years actually to get this permit through Caltrans and this unique layout. So anyway, by the end of 2019, we received the encroachment permit from Caltrans, and then soon thereafter we ordered signal poles and equipment that entailed kind of reconstructing the intersection at the Bollinger northbound ramp. Now, if you say, what do you mean Bollinger Canyon Continuous Green? If you've driven it, then you kind of know. But the bottom line is when you're going westbound, as you pass Sunset, you're unimpeded. Once you get going onto the freeway, both north and southbound, you don't stop. It's just, again, continuous green. So it really helps with pushing the cars through, getting them on the freeway more expediently than having to stop as before at that intersection at the Bollinger northbound ramps. Those still operate and feed through, but the green continues. So exciting for that. We did start in April 2020 during COVID. The challenges there. The good news was we had a lot less traffic, historic lows. So we had little impact really with the overall traffic, which is great. So we finished by August of that summer there, completed the job. And then as you're aware, the entire project was completed and accepted by the council, by you guys last November 2020. Project was about $365,000, fell within the limits of the award, different categories. So with that, I'd like you to roll, Christina, to the final slide, which is the award. So APW every year has an opportunity to get an award for various construction type projects. This is the Northern California chapter. So we compete with a lot of cities in the Bay Area, counties, special districts, and there's different categories. And in this case, it was transportation projects under 5 million. So we're excited to receive that. And you can see the award of the trophy. And at this time, I will turn it in kind of the Oscars so I can highlight key staff, because with any project, it takes a team to get things done. So first off, foremost is Teresa Peterson, our associate engineer and project manager. She's been so involved, such a good facilitator, coordinator, and just a jack of all trades through 10 plus years again to get all this done, coordinating right away and utility relocations. Of course, Caltrans of a long time to be patient going through that process. Others to note, Deborah Fair, our traffic engineer. There's a lot of traffic signal relocation and timing work along the corridor. Carl Sjogren, our supervising inspector, and his group. They did a fabulous job of just being flexible. They work day, they work night, they work weekend. They just work whenever was needed to minimize impacts to the public. So that was a big deal. And then just quickly, the design team. So RJA did the civil design for the whole project, and then Hexagon did the traffic signals and that. And then besides Hexagon, there was a Dabble Engineering that did a small part of the work, but it was important because they had good experience with Caltrans. So they really helped facilitate that process with the approvals. And then again, the partnership with Sunset Development. We did a reimbursement agreement with them. They hired Granite Construction as the prime contractor to do the work. And then with this work, a lot of it was the signal work and timing. That was Columbia Electric. So with that, we're really excited that we received the award. I think Teresa has it, but you might not be able to see it on the video, but we'll put it somewhere proudly in the office. So we're excited about that, excited to close that chapter with all the Bollinger work that's taken years of work and a lot of stuff behind the scenes that you may not realize with the Caltrans process and right away and utility relocations for years and things like that. So anyway, we're excited to receive the award. And if you guys have any questions, we're open, Teresa or I, to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Brian. And we have questions before we open a public hearing. Let's start with Councilmember Zafar and then Armstrong.
Are we doing questions and comments?
Just
All
questions.
right.
We'll do comments after public comment.
Okay,
But you can do
so
whatever you want. It's okay.
I think it's obviously more comments than, questions. It's been wonderful to have that come in. I think one of the things, it was almost a COVID surprise where we weren't driving that much. And then one day you got on the road and it's like, what just happened here? And it's been phenomenal, right? That's been one of the biggest bottlenecks. And I think when we go back to normal, we'll find out really how that flows. But just so very excited to see that. I didn't know what it was called, but I'm like, this is brilliant. And I'm sorry it had to take you guys like 10 years to make it happen while people were dealing with traffic, especially, during the evening rush hour is when that really got blocked. But just, brilliant how the traffic just flows. I think I like the fact that you have those, whatever they're called, the sticks, that, it's the bad characters that would come in and just sneak right towards the end.
Yeah.
So that prevents them now. We've got to go and sometimes, you forget to stay in your lane, but I think it's also changing habits. But it's been brilliant. So just want to say, Brian, thank you to you, Teresa, and all the staff. And I'm always excited when we get awards for something like this because you guys always do such a brilliant job here in San Ramon. So just wanted to say my comments here.
Thank you. Councilmember Armstrong and then Veros, and then we'll wrap up with the Vice Mayor.
Yeah, my thanks and my congratulations to you also. This has obviously been a long time coming. The persistence is showing through. It does a lot to ease the traffic burden there in that area. We've all been through that and experienced that. And it's always great to see how our funds are being spent and the tangible results of where our funding goes. So it's great to see. So thanks to all the public works and the engineering and traffic staff, the inspectors, design team, everybody, Sunset, everyone that came together for that. Well done and congratulations on a well-deserved award.
Questions from Councilmember Burrows?
This is going to be again comments from my side.
I try. Hey, I set the tone earlier, so I'm on no high ground here. Go ahead.
Congratulations. Thanks for great work. Every time when we receive any complaint in past or in past, especially pre-COVID, about traffic issue, they used to take that stretch as an example within the city. Always they say the traffic is one of the worst traffic we have. You say, could you please elaborate? Then they used to give that as an example. Hopefully, post-COVID, we will see the real usage, and also we see the benefits. Definitely, that's a great work. Thank you very much. And you please continue the same to receive more and more awards and provide great services to our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Sridhar. Vice Mayor Perkins, then we'll open up public. You're on mute.
Whoops.
Are you back on mute?
Yeah, let's see. Here we go. I really appreciate the work you guys do. And the thing I really want to point out is somebody had to think of this. And so I really appreciate the fact that someone in our engineering, traffic, and engineering departments, thought that we could make this better, and this is how we could make it better. Then the effort comes through to how do you get Caltrans to buy off and all the other things that go into it. But somebody, thought ahead and said, you know what, this isn't satisfactory. What we have now isn't working, and we got to do something about it. And this is something I think we can do. So thank you all for whoever thought the idea. And yeah, if it takes 10 years to make it happen, it's still worth it. I know that can be very frustrating, but in engineers, sometimes we're patient and sometimes we're not. But thank you very much for doing it. I do have one question. Who is responsible for replacing the white vertical plastic things that, get torn out?
City manager.
Yeah, I can see Joe out there dodging cars and putting new stakes in the ground. Now, who is that, a Caltrans or is that a city, or is
city?
I can answer that question. That is the city, and in order for Caltrans to really buy off on it, they wanted to make sure we maintain that type of layout, which was similar to the one in Southern California. So
okay.
So
how often are you? What is your maintenance plan on that? Is that a monthly, a quarterly, an annual? How often are we going to go out there and replace the plastic things that are knocked down? I see Maria's popped up here. So
hello, good evening. So the answer to that question is that we do it on an as-needed basis. So we look at it daily, weekly when we drive by, and if the maintenance staff sees that some have been knocked down, then we will go and replace it almost immediately, because we want to make sure that a couple reasons. One, obviously for safety, but two, the aesthetics as well. So we do have inventory on stock, so we go in and take care of it rather quickly.
Okay, hey, great, thank you very much. Yeah, if we let it go too long, and there starts to be big gaps where there's 5 or 6 in a row that aren't there, you're going to have people doing the dive bombing again, and so that kind of defeats the whole purpose. So it is important that on a pretty regular basis we're replacing those as we see them. So thank you very much, and thank you to whoever that engineer is or that staff member that said, you know what, I think we can make this better.
I think it was the mayor.
I really appreciate that.
I thought I'd try and slip that in. He didn't hear it. Okay, we are open to public comment is open. If you wish to speak under public comment on this item, please use the raise your hand feature on Zoom or dial *9 on your telephone. I don't see any of the 12 attendees leaping up, going once. Anyone wishing to speak to this? Twice. Public comment is closed. I would just add one thing. When I saw this, the first thing I thought of, Maria, Brian, was these are the kind of markers that you will be putting up for the autonomous vehicle. It separates it from the public a little bit. And it'll be very interesting to see if you're getting any calls from the connected vehicle portion of it, where people, wander out a little bit. I think that's going to be the difference between doing it a decade ago and doing it now and going forward, is this works. If you get too close, your car lets you know. Otherwise, Vice Mayor Perkins' comment is absolutely right. You're going to be replacing these things daily, which you cannot do at 4 on a Friday. Anyway, I thank you for the report, Brian. I don't see anyone else wishing for comments. We got them all out of the way. Very efficient tonight. We will accept your report and move on to Transportation Advisory Committee appointment staff report. Lisa Bobadilla, are you still with us?
I am still with you.
Okay, you're up.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Hudson, members of the City Council, City Manager, staff, and San Ramon community. The item before you this evening is to appoint 3 members to the Transportation Advisory Committee for terms to run through January 31st, 2023. The TAC is comprised of 6 members of the San Ramon community and 1 representative from the San Ramon Chamber of Commerce for a total of 7 members. Terms for committee members Bob DuPont, Atul Patel, and Min Tao expired on January 31st. This has resulted in 3 vacancies on the committee. The city clerk's office received 9 applications by the deadline date. Applications were also received from existing TAC members Bob DuPont and Atul Patel. Min Tao notified staff that he did not intend to reapply to the TAC due to work constraints. All applications received are included in your staff report package this evening. It should be noted 2 applicants have withdrawn their applications prior to the interviews. Therefore, the Planning Commission Ad Hoc Committee interviewed 7 candidates for the 3 vacancies on February 17th and February 19th. The Ad Hoc Committee recommendations were forwarded to the Planning Commission. Therefore, this evening, the Planning Commission recommendation to City Council is to reappoint Bob DuPont, Atul Patel, and to appoint Miranda Shakes to the Transportation Advisory Committee for terms running through January 31st, 2023. That concludes my presentation this evening. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any questions, council members of staff, before I open it up to the public? Seeing none, public comment is open. If you wish to speak under public comment on this item, please use the raise your hand. I'm speaking slowly to see if anybody wants to get on, or dial *9 on your telephone when it's your turn. Does anyone wish to speak to this in public? Seeing none, we will close the public comment. Questions, we had none. How many comments of staff? Are you ready to make the motion, Vice Mayor Perkins?
Yes, I'll move agenda item 8.1 to appoint Bob DuPont, Atul Patel, and Miranda Shakes to the TAC for terms running through January 2023.
Okay.
I can second.
Okay, motion Perkins, second Zafar. Did I get it right that time? Roll call
You
vote,
did.
please.
Councilmember Armstrong,
Yes.
Councilmember Veros,
Yes.
Councilmember Zafar,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Perkins,
Yes.
and Mayor Hudson.
Yes, that's 5-0. Congratulations to our 1 new member and 2 former members. Moving on to 8.2, Transportation Demand Management Advisory Committee appointments. Staff report by Senior Analyst Darlene Amarola. Are you here, Darlene?
Yes, I am.
Good.
Good.
You're up.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Hudson, council members, and members of the community. The item before you is a recommendation to appoint Andrew Nice from the San Ramon Regional Medical Center to the Transportation Demand Management TDM Advisory Committee for terms to run through January 2023. The TDM Advisory Committee is comprised of 5 members and 2 alternate members who are representatives from the San Ramon business community. The terms for 2 council members expired January 2021. Notices were sent to the committee members for renewal. The vacancy notice was also posted on the city's website, and staff reached out to San Ramon employers to recruit new members. The city clerk's office received 1 application. On January the 7th, staff received an email from Yolanda Serrato from the San Ramon Marriott stating that she will not be reapplying due to changes in her work schedule as a result of COVID-19. On March 2nd, the Planning Commission recommended appointing Andrew Nice to the TDM Advisory Committee for a term running through January 31st, 2023. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions of staff, council members Zafar.
Hi, Darlene. Thank you for sharing that information. So I guess my question is, with COVID in the last year, how has this committee been impacted?
So last year, we meet bi-monthly. So we had to cancel a few of our meetings due to COVID-19. And the only really big impact was losing Yolanda due to COVID-19.
Well,
Thank you.
Councilmember Veros, do you have any questions, or Armstrong? Vice Mayor Perkins, before I open up the public comment? Seeing none, public comment is now open. Now is the time for you to speak under public comment on this item. Please use the raise your hand. Still don't see any attendees raising. Or the Zoom feature on Zoom, or dial *9 on your telephone. When is your turn to talk? And call upon a name if provided. Oh, one more time. Anybody from public comment want to talk about TDM? I could talk about it for hours, but no, I won't. We will close public comment. Any comments from the council at this time? Or is there a motion? Well, I'll ask again, Councilmember Zafar, Veros, Armstrong, Vice Mayor Perkins. Are you ready to move? Someone.
I can move.
I'm giving it to Councilmember Zafar. She beat you by a hair. That's Zafar the first. Second goes to Veros. Comments? No, and that was, by the way, I cut him off. That was to appoint Andrew Nice to the appointment.
Andrew Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, to
Andrew Nice was appointed.
2023. Okay, you got that, Christina? Or did I muddle it up for everybody? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Armstrong,
Yes.
Councilmember Veros,
Yes.
Councilmember Zafar,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Perkins,
Yes.
and Mayor Hudson.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that passes 5-0. Our next item on the agenda, I think there's no unfinished business tonight, which is 9. So let's go to the highlight of the evening, new business resolution number 2021-36, authorizing mid-year 2021 budget adjustments. And the recommendation will be to pass resolution 2021-36. Eva, are you doing this one, or who do you have starting this off? Candace.
I am. Good afternoon, Mayor.
Can't stay away, can you?
Well, good evening to all of you, to the City Council. Yes, I'm here to present the mid-year financial review for 2021. I do have a presentation. You have the full detail of the report in your council packet and the staff report, but I want to go over have a presentation for you. So Christine, if you can pull that up for me. Next slide. So my presentation today will go over some key highlights of the report, and then we'll go to the overview of the process. I'll give you some economic outlook updates, projected results, and then some recommended adjustments, and then we'll have a conclusion at the end. So we have seen severe impacts of COVID-19. We have our general policy reserve. We started the beginning of the year at 24.3 million, which was 3.9 million more than the estimate when we adopted the budget. We're projecting at the end of this fiscal year, as of June 30th, 2021, prior to supplemental appropriations, we're going to end at 20.8 million. That's a reduction, a use of reserves of 3.5 million, and that includes a drawdown of 1.6 million for the debt service payment. So our general fund revenues, we're projecting to come in 4.4 million below budget, and our expenditures we're projecting to come in under budget by 2 million. General fund transfers, the projected net transfers out is 1.7 million, and that's excluding the transferring of all the remaining reserves that are in the debt service fund. We're now moving them over to the general fund, so they're in one place and easy to see. So the report is intended to provide a mid-year look at the financial condition of the city. We review all the actual results through December 20th and compare them to December 20th, 2019 at that same point in time. And then we get input from the city departments, and then we estimate the remainder of the year. We also take a look at the state to see what's happening at the state level. And at the state level, the state budget for 2021-22, there's a proposed budget so far for Gavin Newsom of $227.2 billion. It includes $14 billion for coronavirus relief efforts, So far, we do not see any negative impact from the state on city resources. So the COVID pandemic has not only affected the city of San Ramon, but it's affected economies of all levels. So as of December 20th, some indicators are still showing some improvement. The US economy grew 33.4% in the third quarter 2020. And in the fourth quarter 2020, it increased 4%. However, it still is a decrease of 3.5 in total for the whole year when you compare it to 2019. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reported 140,000 job loss in December 2020, and the overall, the US lost 9.8 million. They have 9.8 million fewer people employed than prior to the pandemic. And as experts are saying, will take likely more than 2 years to return to pre-pandemic levels. The unemployment rates, when you compare December 2020 to December 2029, as you can see, the national average is 6.7 compared to 3.6. California is 9%, higher than majority of the nation, the Contra Costa and San Ramon, and last year was 3.9%. Contra Costa County is at 7.9% versus 2.6. San Ramon is always lower. However, we're still higher than the previous year. We're at 5.6% versus 2.2%. Looking at the US housing construction is soaring 7% in 2020 as historic low mortgage rates continue to support the housing market. Home prices grew by 8.4% over the past year and are expected to trend upward in 2021. The California's median home price increased 6.8% in 2020 compared to last year and are still projected to rise. Existing single-family home sales rose 28% from 2019. And the State Controller's Office, December 2020 cash receipts, looking at their major revenue streams of personal income tax, corporate tax, and sales tax, they were higher than projected. Actually, they collected $9.2 billion. That's $8.3 billion above budgeted estimates. So this chart here just gives you a visual showing you comparing 2019-20 to this current year for the first 6 months. And then it's a comparison of the actuals from last year, our estimates that we're projecting for the full year and what we actually budgeted. Next slide. So looking at the midpoint, comparing December 2020 to December 2019, revenue was 19.1 million. That's 4.4 million or 18.7% below compared to the same period last year. We are seeing increases in property tax, sales tax, and some franchise fees. However, we're seeing a huge decrease in our transit occupancy tax, which we call TOT, decreases in license and permits, charges for services, and miscellaneous revenue. So this chart gives you a comparison at the 6-month point in 2020 and 2019 for the major revenue streams. So your property tax, sales tax, TOT, franchise, charges for services, license and permits, and miscellaneous revenue. And as you can see, the big drop in TOT, which I'll go over each one of these revenue categories. So revenue estimates for the full year, we're anticipating 48.1 million in revenue. That's still 4.4 million below the adopted budget. And this is also a comparison of the full year estimate compared to the budget. Next slide. So property tax, the full year estimate is 22.2 million. It's at budget. It's 300,000 above prior year actuals. And the county assessor is estimating 3.6% increase in assessed property values. Sales tax revenue, the full year estimate is 10.4 million. That's 900,000 above budget and 200,000 above last year's actuals. This revenue stream is forecast by our HDL and Associates. There are sales tax consultants. Also, receipts and reporting of sales tax revenue is usually lagged by several months. Current results for the quarter ending September 2020, we have those results, and we will see December 2020 results in mid-March. So we should be getting, actually, we have an appointment. We're making arrangements to meet with our sales tax consultant in the next couple of weeks. So TOT, the full year estimate is 1.3 million. That's 1.3 million below budget. This is the revenue source that it took the hardest hit because of COVID-19. We're also 1.1 million below prior year actuals. Next slide. Franchise fees, the full year estimate is 5.5 million. We're 500,000 below budget. And 600,000 above last year's actual. And then growth is impacted by annexations and rates, and also was impacted because of a lot of business closures due to COVID. So that they weren't paying any of their bills for garbage waste. Next slide. License and permits, the full year estimate is 2.4 million. That's slightly below budget. And there's 300,000 above last year's actuals, and revenue is subject to the timing of development projects. Charges for services, the full year estimate is 3.3 million. That's 2.1 million below budget, and it's 2 million below prior year actuals, and revenue is also subject to the timing of development projects. And the recreation program was severely impacted by COVID-19 pandemic. So this chart is just a summary of all the revenue sources for the city. And as you can see, for the first part is showing the 6 months compared to the prior year 6 months. We're showing that our revenue is down 4.4 million. And then overall for the year compared to the budget, we're down 4.4 million. So moving on to general fund expenditures, this is a chart showing the results of the first 6 months of the year, this year compared to last year, and also the actuals for last year, comparing those to the full year's estimate and the budget for this year. So the expenditure results at the mid-year point, expenditures were 21.4 million. That's 1.2 million or 5.7% higher than the same period last year. And this reflects higher salary and benefit costs and service contracts. At the end of December 2020, we had 23 vacant funded positions. That's 99% vacancy rate. However, we have filled a lot of those positions, but we do still have vacancies. The full year estimate total expenditures are 48.3 million. That's 2 million or 4% below budget. And that's just decreased spending due to COVID pandemic and position vacancy savings. We're 2.8 million above prior year's actuals of 45.4 million. This chart here shows you the total by department. And as you can see, for the first 6 months, I just want to highlight Parks and Community Services. When you compare last year to this year, just the first 6 months, they're down 399,000 in expenditures. And then when you compare the estimate to the budget, we're showing overall the city expenditures are down 2 million. But if you look at Parks and Rec again, they're down $1 million. Public Works, 212,000, and Police, 664,000. Next slide. So this is our policy reserves. We ended the fiscal year at June 30, 2020 with 24.3 million in reserves. We have 15.3 million in the general fund and then 8.9 or 9 million in debt service funds. So when you take all the information of the revenue that we're projecting coming in of 48 million, and then the expenditures of 48.2, and then we have our transfers out, and that number includes the amount of debt service that we're moving back, the reserves moving back into the general fund. So our net transfers out is about 5.7 million. So the total net increase in fund balance is 4.3. So our general fund unreserved balance at the end of June 30th, 2021, we're showing that we're going to come in at 20.7 million or 20.8 million. So moving on to the all funds, so all city funds, this is just a summary by the different by the categories of how we're looking at the 6-month point and at the end of the year, what we project. We're projecting, well, so far we've come in 5.8 million above our expenditures than the previous year, and we're planning to come in under budget by 2.3 million at the end of the fiscal year. Other funds that we like to highlight that had some kind of significant change, so I want to highlight those. The Development Mitigation Fund revenue is 200,000 below budget. The full year estimate is 400,000, and it's actually 200,000 below last year. And the decrease in development fees received impacted this by COVID-19 pandemic. The Gas Tax Fund, the revenue is 200,000 below budget. The full year estimate is 3.5 million. That's 100,000 below last year's actual, and that's due to decrease in gasoline purchases, which is a result of COVID-19 again. So our Open Space Fund revenue, it's 400,000 above budget. The full year estimate is about 500,000, and that's 500,000 above last year's actuals. And this includes development fees received from Lennar Homes. So under Dougherty Valley, we like to highlight this fund. Dougherty Valley revenue is, we're projecting it at budget. The full year estimate is 20 million. 1.6 million above last year's actuals. And what affects this revenue stream is the rate of home sales and the timing of reimbursements from the county. Our Dougherty Valley expenditures are 200,000 below budget. The full year estimate is 21.2 million. That's 2.1 million above last year. And this is due to increases in service contracts, utility costs, and annexations offset by decreases from position vacancies. So the net difference of that is what the city contributes to make the Dougherty Valley whole. So we do have some recommendations for budget adjustments. Total general fund adjustments total $242,376. And that includes funding for the COVID-19 Business Assistance Program for $90,000. We're asking, requesting funding for actual water usage and costs at Athens Downs and Central Park for $50,400. And also the funding transfer to the insurance fund for the city's share of the funding to make an additional payment to CalPERS towards DERFA, which is the Dougherty Regional Fire Authority, their unfunded pension liability. And that's $101,976. So all other funds, the total appropriations that are requested is 1.8 million. And we're also wanting to show some revenue, that funding that we're getting of 280,000. So under various funds, for the funding for the water usage and cost is 34,000. And from those funds, we're requesting 5,000 from the West Branch Fund, 3,000 from Bent Creek Fund, and 26,000 from the Dougherty Valley Fund. Funding for auto accidents, 83,363. I just want to also say on the auto accidents, we do get often get reimbursed by the responsible parties insurance company. So we do get some kind of reimbursement. We do bill out and get reimbursed for majority of the cost, but we are asking for the citywide landscaping fund, $25,823. Citywide street lighting fund, $17,009. Canyon Lakes, $1,878, and then the Dougherty Valley Fund, $38,653. Under the Dougherty Valley Fund, we are requesting funding for increased electricity usage and costs for the Bollinger Fountain, $23,000, and also funding for a lease of a new temporary modular office building, furniture, and electrical data installation. $50,364. And that would be for costs associated with the lease of a new temporary modular building to provide space for staff to adequately socially distance as required per current COVID-19 protocol. Under the Summerwood Loop Fund, requesting funding for emergency tree removal, $3,000. Old Ranch Estates Fund, requesting funding for weed abatement to address vegetation growth, $1,500. El Nido Fund, funding for tree removal replacement, CIP number 300012, $5,000. And under the Capital Projects Fund, funding for the Forest Home Farms Meat Locker, CIP 925418, $40,000. And there's a revenue match reimbursement from the San Ramon Historic Foundation. Under the Vehicle Equipment and Replacement Fund, we're asking for reappropriating funding of $31,900 not used from the previous year due to manufacturers' labor strikes and COVID-19 shutdowns for a public works vehicle uplifting, and an additional $18,100 to properly upfit vehicle number 30. So that's a total of $50,000 for that. And then also funding for an emergency replacement and repair of the San Ramon Service Center and Doherty Valley Service Bulk Material Bin Pool Tarp Carts for $15,000. Under the Liability Insurance Fund, we're asking to appropriate total expenditures costs related to the Doherty Regional Fire Authority, DRFA, not previously included in the 2021 budget. It was an oversight that didn't include the expenditures. All the funding is included. We just have to appropriate the expenditures. That's $344,716. Also expenditure funding for the additional payment to CalPERS towards the DRFA's unfunded pension liability of $240. So when the previous slides of the general fund, we're asking for the general fund to their portion of DRFA, and we move that money over to the insurance fund, and then it's paid out of the insurance fund. So we would show a revenue stream coming in from the city's general fund, and also the city of Dublin share would be $138,024 to cover that $240,000. Under the Solid Waste Fund, there's no additional funding required. The request is to convert an Office Tech 1-2 position to an office specialist, and this position is entirely funded from the Solid Waste Fund. So looking forward to fiscal year 21-22, we have some key budget development drivers, and that's the strategic, how we're handling the strategic pandemic recovery, our revenue recovery, dealing with the rising cost of employee benefits and inflation costs, maintaining service levels with resource constraints in our unfunded pension liability. So in conclusion, just to wrap this up, general fund beginning balance was higher than adopted due to better than anticipated prior year ending results, carefully monitoring expenditures, savings from vacant positions, and an unanticipated COVID-19 relief package from the state of $1 million. We also see that the general fund revenue estimate to be 4.4 million below budget. Our expenditures are estimated to come in 2 million below budget. We're projecting an ending policy reserve balance of 20.8%. That's 45% of the prior year audited general fund expenditures, plus the general fund transfer to the Doherty Valley Fund. That's our new way of calculating our reserves. And also, if council approves the 200,000 from the general fund mid-year request that we just mentioned, we're projecting the ending results would be 20.6 million, still keeping us at 45% of prior expenditures. And the remaining 1.8 million mid-year results will be funded by other dedicated sources. So that ends my conclusion of the PowerPoint presentation. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I will ask each of the council members if they have a question, then we're going to take 5 before we open the public comment. Let's start with the finance department. We'll go in reverse now. How about Vice Mayor Perkins? Do you have any questions, not comments? And you're on mute.
There we go. There we go. No, our finance chair, Sabina Zafar, and I reviewed this with the finance staff and the other management. And we had, at least I had my questions answered at that time. Looking forward to seeing how the American Relief Fund or whatever whatever that thing is. I guess they're voting on it today in Congress. So we shall see how that affects us going forward, and what the strings are that are attached and how we can make best use of that. But that's a discussion for another day. So I'm fine for now. Thank you very much.
Are they voting on it today in the next 10 minutes or today, tomorrow?
Well, that's a really good question. I don't know what they're actually. They were scheduled to vote on it on Tuesday, but it might have slipped into Wednesday. But 1 or 2 days doesn't matter to me.
Chair Zafar, any questions of staff before we take 5?
Oh, I'm good as well. I think we spent a good hour with Eva in the finance committee meeting and she answered all our questions. So we moved it to present it to council. So if you guys have any questions.
Councilmember Burrows, any questions before we take 5-minute break?
No, I had a similar question like Vice Mayor Perkins about our, I see that we already received $1 million from state relief and definitely looking forward to see if we can receive more of that relief fund so that we can reduce some of that deficit. But if we have an answer right now or we are waiting till that voting, then yeah, we have to wait for it.
Councilmember Armstrong.
No questions. Break
No
time.
questions. Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute break. We'll be back. And at that time, I'll open public comments, see if anybody still wants to speak to this, and then it'll come back to us and we'll move on it. Take 5. How we doing? We got everybody back. Sorta, almost. We got Sabina, we got Sridhar, do we have Christina? Okay, it looks like the gang's almost, we're waiting for Sridhar. Sridhar, are you there? He's here. Okay, we ready to start her up again, Christina? Okay, let's call back to order the regular meeting for March 9th. We are on, what are we on? Item 10, which is the authorizing mid-year 2020-2021 budget adjustments. We are going to open the public comment for, I'm looking to see if we still have 9 attendees. If you wish to speak under public comment on this item, please use the raise your hand feature on Zoom or dial *9 on your telephone when it is your turn to talk and we call upon a name if provided. Your remarks are limited to 3 minutes per person. The clock will be running on the Zoom screen. Still don't see anybody. I'm gonna have to stretch this out longer. Hopefully Spadowski's still with us. The speaker microphone will be muted once the allotted time has expired. Is there anyone wishing to speak to item 10 for public comment? Public comment going once, going twice, closed. Okay, the item is now before the city council for your comments. Have we made our, anyone wishing to speak to this from the council? I would ask, if not, that our finance committee make a motion in a second and we move on, because once again, it's just a terrible job, Eva, that you know, with another great job on it. Go ahead, Vice Mayor Perkins.
I'll move resolution 2021-036, mid-year budget adjustments.
Okay.
I can second.
Okay, and comments, we have a motion, Perkins, second Zafar, comments, Commissioner, Council Member Armstrong.
Well, I was just going to say, thank you, Eva, for that report. Obviously, we've been impacted by the pandemic for our revenues and expenditures, and you know that the increase in property tax, that's kind of a blessing and a curse for us. It's a, you know, it's a blessing that city's getting the additional share of the taxes, but of course that's an additional burden on the residents. We're paying higher taxes. It'll be good to get the transient occupancy tax going again. That means we're on the downhill side of this pandemic. Get tourists back in here, get people enjoying our beautiful city again. And it'll be great to get, you know, some of that revenue again from our recreation programs and things. And likewise, as we open up with our small businesses, we start hiring again, things will start to thrive. And I think it'll help bring back some sense of normalcy for us. So I think we all look forward to that. So good to see that despite the pandemic, we're in pretty good shape as we execute through the rest of the year. And I have no issues with the adjustment recommendations.
Council Member Verosa, and then to Chair Zafar to wrap it up.
Yeah, as we are in unprecedented times with this COVID pandemic, thank you very much, Eva and your team, for keeping your focus on where we can do better, like adjustments and also follow-ups on wherever we can tweak the numbers. So thank you. Hopefully we'll be out pretty soon and we'll get some of those relief funds, and definitely looking forward for a brighter and non-deficit budgets soon. Thank you.
Councilmember Zafar, then Vice Mayor Perkins.
Yeah, just one comment I did want to make and bring everybody's attention to is that our reserves are still higher than what the policy we'd adopted for our reserves to be 36%, which puts us in a really great position. And just, you know, Eva, your team for managing it so well, and Joe really paying attention to our expenditures and everything in the past year. And they made fun of me when I said Joe tightened the belt, but you did tighten the belt, right, in a lot of ways. So Just wanted to point out, right, for people to know that we're in a good position compared to a lot of cities, which are not.
That's right. Vice Mayor Perkins.
Sabina, you stole a lot of my thunder there, but you're exactly right. Because we have been managing our finances well for more than a decade, we were in a position to maintain all of our essential city functions. We dipped into our reserves some, but that's what they're there for. We talked about the fact that if this wasn't the economic event that reserves were meant for, we really didn't want to see what that event would be like. So I'm very grateful for Ava and Joe and the staff that has managed our city so well for so many years that we were in a position to retain our staff. We didn't have to take any permanent staff and layoffs or anything like that. We were able to maintain all of our essential city functions. And so I'm grateful for that. And I know the citizens of San Ramon are grateful for that. They didn't see the city step back. They saw the city step up when it came to delivering meals and protecting our properties and places like that. So I want to thank Joe and all of our staff for doing what we need to do to maintain San Ramon as a great city. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you. Well stated by all. But Sabina, you had something more.
I was just going to say that money on the Bollinger Fountain is going to be well spent. I've never seen so many people taking pictures in front of, since COVID. It's like everybody's taking pictures. It's always so, certainly that's what we do best, right? Maintain so people can take advantage and certainly, like I said, that Bollinger Canyon fountain has been well used through the pandemic.
That's considered an essential function, I think.
Okay, wrapped up, and I will, yes, that pictures of that fountain that's iconic. All you had to do is look at Wikipedia. They used it, they stole it. Everyone I talk to loves it, but that's here nor there. I did want to say just one comment, not this year, but at some time, I would like to revisit the policy that we have on reserves. Not that I want to change it so much as take a look at it, because unfortunately I did see those times that you said you don't want to see when things get bad. I can't tell you how important it is to have had Eva all these years. But she's kind of smiling when she's seen it too. The state can do things that just, what they could just, I won't go into it. Let's have a roll call vote. It's been a long night. Where are you at, Christina?
Councilmember Armstrong,
Yes.
Councilmember Veros,
Yes.
Councilmember Zafar,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Perkins,
Yes.
and Mayor Hudson.
Yes, 5-0 again. We are on to our city manager's comments. He was very respectful of our fire chief tonight.
I was biting my tongue, but they actually have done a fantastic job. So it's tough to criticize when they step up to that magnitude. So yes, I am proud that our city, it is an independent fire district, and they commit a lot to not only our city, but to the whole area in which they serve. But as you know, ever since our dispatch center and now the shared public safety building, as well as they gave kudos, well-deserved, to several of our city staff, that when we asked for help, because it takes a lot to get that efficient vaccination program up, they reached out and says, is there anybody that can help us out? And, screeners and directing traffic and just a whole lot of things you don't think of. And numerous city staff stepped up and did some fantastic things to help make that as efficient as it is. So we continue to be a very proud partner with the fire district, and we're proud to the level of service that they're delivering on these vaccines.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Also, the the American Recovery Act. We will provide further information on that as assuming it is passed in the House and ultimately signed by the president. It looks like it's going that direction. I'm being a old salty city manager. I never really react until I see ink hit the paper, and so we'll give you some information. But as soon as that's signed, we have been tracking it diligently. There's been some changes here and there, and upon the signature and that ultimately passing, that would be a fantastic thing and do some significant improvements to our next year's budget situation. So we look forward to that as well.
Thank you.
And
Go ahead.
On a final note, it being Women's History Month, I would like to take the opportunity to salute and honor the women in San Ramon's workforce who come to work every day and contribute amazing things that make this city as great as it is. So we put together a video that we'd like to share with the City Council. And move here.
You turned Spadowski loose on this?
Turn him loose.
Oh my.
This being Women's History Month, it's my great pleasure to honor all the amazing women that contribute so much to the city of San Ramon. You know, my personal life has not been without strong women role models, and I attribute much of my success in life to their wisdom, strength, and encouragement. The woman you see over my left shoulder is my grandmother, Ruth Gorton, who has since left us. She made it to 99 and 11/12 years old. She was one of the strongest women I knew, and I drew so much inspiration from her. Traveling out of the Dakotas to California with no money in her pockets, she braved the Great Depression, the Dust Bowl, and a myriad of other hardships over her 100-year span. She lived in a river canyon mining gold, worked in a canning factory canning peaches, and many other odd jobs just to make ends meet. Much has changed over the years for the better, and I look forward to more great things to come. In my professional life, I'm so fortunate to have such a great team. I see my grandmother's strength, wisdom, creativity, and foresight in the women in our workforce. I'm so proud to honor those women today, starting with our executive leadership team. Admin Services Director, Eva Phelps, Public Works Director, Maria Ferner, Parks and Community Services Director, Kathy Hyman, our Community Development Director, Debbie Chamberlain, and our very own City Clerk, Christina Franco. You are amazing professionals and role models. And to the many other women on our city staff, I want to salute you today. Thank you for your contributions to the city, for your contributions to the community we serve, and frankly, for your contributions to the world itself.
Pretty good. Okay, any further comments? That summed it up.
That was fabulous.
I guess we can give a kudo to our Women's Month representative. Councilmember Zafar, you started to say something. Did I cut you off?
I was just going to say thank you, Joe, for doing this. This is amazing. Just recognizing, and it's very heartwarming to see all these women that really do. And I think from what I remember, 60% of the staff or more in San Ramon are women, which is really huge. And, all your leadership team, it's just phenomenal. Nobody sees everything that happens behind the scene, right? We see this amazing city, really well run, everything taken care of, but it takes real leadership. And for your leadership team to be all women is pretty amazing. Craig, I'm not trying to be, kind of sideline you, but I think, there's the other women that are, leading our city, and Christina has obviously been, such a phenomenal asset to our council here. So just want to say thank you for really appreciating the women during Women History Month and recognizing them.
Well, I told you who runs the fire department. Darn, he didn't stay on. Okay. Thank you very much. Public comment is now open at this time. Those in the audience who have not previously spoken under the previous public comment, agenda item 4, are encouraged to address the city council on any item not already included in tonight's agenda. We still have 7 people left. Does anyone wish to speak? You would do the same thing. Raise the hand, punch *9, going once, going twice. We close public comment. City council members, let's start off with Sridhar. You start us off tonight.
Oh, I don't have anything.
Council member Armstrong.
A couple things. Sridhar and I did attend a policy committee meeting. Again, we were reconsidering the vote, the future of Crow Canyon Gardens, specifically the fate of the Muds restaurant buildings. Policy requested some additional information from the staff. They're working on that, and then we'll consider that again in policy committee before bringing it back to the council. On the 1st of March, the senior advisory committee met. One of the 2021 goals they had was to explore ways to do more things virtually, virtual programming. So they solicited some feedback on a 55 or older virtual program offerings. They've got a draft survey that they reviewed. They're going to send this out by Gov Delivery, their email list, and they'll use a Survey Monkey tool, send it out probably in April. They'll also put information out about it in their Encore newsletter and on the 55 plus city website. They're also establishing an electronic suggestion box. Again, the links to that will be at the 55 plus city website and in the Encore newsletter. And then they also mentioned they're going to have a parking lot bingo on April 22nd. That'll be from 1 o'clock to 3:30 p.m. They'll be calling out the bingo numbers over a low frequency FM radio station as people are in their cars. So that ought to be interesting over at the senior center. Lastly, for anyone who's still listening from the public, or if you all want to pass this on to any veterans that you know over at the VA, they are offering vaccines, even if you're not in that risk category of over 65. If you're 55 and over, certain veterans will be eligible at the Livermore or the Palo Alto facility, and the veterans can call the number 650-496-2535. I'll say that again, 650-496-2535. And I've called that number, it works, and they can get you hooked up for an appointment to get a COVID vaccine.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Perkins, and then I'll give comments and we'll finish the evening with our Women's Month representative, Councilmember Zafar. Scott?
Yes, let's see. Last Friday, the EBRCSA, the East Bay Regional Communication System Authority Board of Directors met. We had a small budget adjustment and a calendar change for our meetings. the most significant thing that generated some discussion was the California Department of Justice has issued a directive that would require all police radios to be encrypted. San Ramon has 189 radios. The cost would be about $760 per radio to upgrade them, or almost $150,000. Now, the EBRCSA is working with the Sheriff's Association and Police Chiefs Association and pushing back a little bit and seeing if we get state funding. You can imagine for some jurisdictions, this is, it would be huge dollars. I mean, $150,000 is not trivial in our budget, but this can really pinch some cities. This is related to the fact that when there's often data or personal information that is broadcast back and forth to dispatch regarding date of birth and other personal information. And there are scanner apps that are for Android and iPhones that you can listen to police communication. So that putting that information out on the radio waves can be can risk identity theft and things like that. The other one was the radio coverage for the preserve, the Freer Preserve, the Lennar project up behind Home Depot. And Lennar is working with the fire district to establish an additional radio site because there are some shadows up there that police radios don't work and fire district radios don't work. So it's, I got to give credit. I don't know who it belongs to. Maybe it's Debbie Chamberlain and her team or others, but there is a clause in the conditions of approval that require that the developer establish or maintain radio coverage at their cost. And so I brought it to the attention of our executive director and said, we need to do that for all of DBRIC's members, that if they don't put that clause in a condition of approval, then it becomes the responsibility of the jurisdiction to upgrade the radios. That's a big deal because that project's probably going to cost more than $1 million up there to establish the entire radio system. On Monday, a busy day, Open Space Committee, Phil Alone gave a history of the Open Space Advisory Committee, how we got there. It dates back to our, Dave Hudson remembers this, the 2002 general plan. 2020 said we were going to have one of those. So we talked about that. And then the Finance Committee. So Sabina and I sat for the Finance Committee. And there's a number of issues that we discussed that are going to be coming to the council soon. Some really interesting things about housing and small improvements in ways we can deal with housing. Then I went to the Library Foundation in the evening. So they're, the Library Foundation is busy doing things for the library. So that's my report. Thank you.
I want to say something because I can't remember whether we did it under public comment, but we did have one written public comment about 5G. We did receive it. You've been able to read it for yourself, just in case I missed it earlier. I want to say to city manager and all of staff, I really like what's going on here at City Hall. I don't know exactly when we're going to open. I will just say for the public, my personal belief is it won't be until we're completely finished with the remodeling, which is seemingly close, which means we're about halfway there. I can't imagine that we're going to have a council meeting in here, even if we go red this month. I doubt it will be the first one in April, but that's my personal feeling, and we'll probably need to discuss that some. The retreat is the 27th. We might even discuss it a little bit then where we think we are. The big things that have happened for me, and I just want to focus on two of them, that's this Contra Costa Accessible Transportation Specific Plan is out. If anybody wants to read it, I will have it in here on the office in a desk. for your perusal. A lot of us came together trying to find out ways to make this more efficient, where you can go across not only county lines, but there's this constant battle when you get in one area or the next area. People are not going to change buses when they're trying to get to a medical appointment in San Mateo County 3 or 4 times. It makes no sense. And hopefully we've come to a solution on that. Appropriate for tonight. Oh, by the way, Scott, it was March 5th of 2002. I've got this Air District legislative newsletter that talks about wildfire smoke is up to 10 times more harmful to breathe than other air pollution. They found that tiny particles of soot from fires, which millions of Californians are breathing in, are up to 10 times as harmful to human respiratory health as particulate pollution from other sources such as car exhaust, factories, or power plants. Last year, 4.2 million acres, an area 13 times the size of the city of LA, burned in California. The most in modern time. I will also put that on a desk if anybody else wants to read it. And one last time, I cannot say enough times how fortunate we are to have that fire department doing the job that they're doing. It really makes all of us look good. Every day I get a compliment about what they've done. And I'll close with our council member, Sabina Zafar. You have the last word before we adjourn.
Thank you so much. So my update is on the Iron Horse Committee. Actually, both myself and Mayor Hudson sit on that, and we got quite a few updates on San Ramon, including the overpass, or what are we calling, the pedestrian/bike crossing, which was really well received by all the other members of. So basically, the Iron Horse Committee is all the Contra Costa cities. It's a Contra Costa committee, so all the Contra Costa cities where Iron Horse passes by, they sit on that, and they were very impressed with what we're doing here in San Ramon. And everybody's kind of looking at us to see what we're doing and learning from that. And I thought there was one more update from San Ramon about something which I can't remember now, but yeah, we were pretty much on the agenda that day, and really.
Oh, I can tell you what it was. Because
it?
I got a little upset with Carl Rohner. We were discussing earlier about negotiating with the golf course at San Ramon Golf for crossing over. We used to have a porta potty on the 7th hole, and they took it off because we were going over it. And golf courses don't make money, folks. But he was going to call me. I haven't heard from me, so I've calmed down. That's the only other thing was the San Ramon Golf Course and the Iron Horse Trail.
Yeah. Traffics is, again, the bus service that we provide to the school district, and now with the schools coming back online, some of them, well, at least, we kind of held on to that. We held on to the drivers and everything. We, paid them. We kept it warm so that, as soon as the orders change, we should be able to go online. And I have to say, Megan has been doing an amazing job of making sure that as we come online, we follow all the county directives and everything, and school buses are provided to whoever wants to sign up for that. So, I guess traffic is back on the road now. A couple of weeks ago, I also attended the Arts Foundation just started a virtual film club. The first movie they recommended watching was Meet John Doe. And actually the discussion was quite interesting. So I think the next one happens towards the end of March, but it's a virtual film club where they invited an author who's written about the director of the movie. And it was quite interesting. I enjoyed it. So if you guys can make it on a Sunday night, join the virtual film club from the Arts Foundation. There was also a presentation on the San Ramon Walking District. And those of you that haven't heard, I know it was Mayor Clarkson's pet child as well. It's basically a walking district that is being developed throughout the city, throughout the core of the city. And there is a webinar recording online. And if you've got input, maybe, make sure to send it over to that committee. Just wanted to point that out because I know staff has been doing presentations and taking input on that. I also I'd mentioned I was going to have this town hall with the California Insurance Commissioner. And that was on fire preparedness. And Chief Pagemeyer was very generous in joining me and giving, a kind of comments towards the end of that. And it was, I think it was well attended. It was recorded, and the idea was we talk about being proactive, not reactive, and just kind of wanted to share that. If you guys want to watch, it's there on social media. Other than that, just I don't want to repeat what Joe said, but agree with everything he shared earlier, and that's it. Happy Women's Day to all the amazing women on our team.
I do have one person who wants to speak, public comment on item 1314, Joyce Carr. Can we let her in? Are you with us, Joyce?
Hi.
Yes.
I'm just adding something in at the last minute here, Mayor. You just mentioned that you did have a public comment that you had, I guess, didn't see earlier in the meeting.
No, what I said was, if I didn't mention it in the first one, I wanted to make sure that I made the comment that we did receive a public comment about 5G, and I don't have it in front of me, or I tell you what it was.
Okay.
We don't read the written comments anymore.
Yeah, I know you're not doing that. I just thought because there weren't many public comments, that would have been one that would have been interesting for me to listen to, because I attend all the meetings here on Zoom, which I'm happy to have, but it's not the same as when we're there personally talking. It's just not personal. And I know there are so many people who are so concerned about this 5G that I myself talk to a lot of people, but I'm also interested in hearing some of the comments of the other people, that the comments other people are sending to you guys during your meetings, whether they're to be read or they speak, one or the other. I'd like to have more information on that.
Okay. I thank you, Joyce. That's why I wasn't sure when I didn't hear anybody in public comment wanted to discuss it. I said, did I bring that up? Because you usually don't miss many opportunities. Anyway, anything on the council comments or the mayor's comments besides that one that I made? Oh, she's gone.
Oh, okay. Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I thought you were going on to something else. No, that was all. I just wanted to say that any information about 5G would certainly be helpful to me and to the people who are concerned about it. Okay. That maybe we have more speakers about that at our council meetings.
Okay, Joyce, thank you very much.
Great meeting. Lots of good information. I learned so much. So it was a fantastic meeting. Everything. Joe Gorton and everything. And Eva, I know she's retiring. I had her son in 3rd grade years ago. And so it was a great meeting.
Thank you. Okay, if there are no objections, I will adjourn this meeting to our next regularly scheduled council meeting. I guess it's March 23rd. So thank you all for hanging with us tonight. Joyce is absolutely right. We had a lot of information and some good reports. And I don't know, it was a tie between the fire department and the city manager on who had the best little ditty there. And I almost want to give Spadowski some credit, but I won't. Thank you all. Good night.